Hi,
What's up, Jenny?
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. Just trying to get my. Can you see my Phoenix? Oh, that's
Yeah.
fun.
Yep.
Nice. Oh,
So you're in
yeah.
Utah?
No, I'm in Colorado. So
Okay.
close. Yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha.
right. Yeah. Where are you at?
Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
Yeah.
Nice. How do you like being in Virginia?
I've been here my whole life. I mean, I love it. I don't, if I move, it's gonna be south.
Okay.
I don't like the cold at all. So I would prefer to
Yeah,
live somewhere with like almost no winter, really. But um,
that
yeah,
sounds nice. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It get pretty cold in Virginia?
Nah, not as bad as like New Jersey or Pennsylvania or up there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I had a pretty bad injury when I was 22 years old, and my feet got run over by a forklift. So I just like my feet get really like cold and like tense, and if the
Gosh.
ground is cold, it's not for me. I'd rather sweat. I'd prefer to
Yeah.
just sweat it out for real.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry about your accident. That sounds really scary.
It was pretty crazy, but
Yeah.
yeah, I when I first started this podcast, I was a little bit like I just wanted to hear everybody's story. Like I love storytelling, and
Yeah.
I pretty quickly realized that like it's gonna work better with more like-minded people, you know.
Mm. Yeah.
There does need to be like some level of resonance for like the conversation to have like a level of interest that other people would want to watch.
Yeah.
And also even just for me to like enjoy doing it, there does need to be some level, even if there's like a lot of disagreement, as long as that's respectful and there's like a base level of like respect and also just heading in the similar direction, even if we're taking different paths. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after I went to Teotihuacan and came back, I had already asked Michelle, and I'm gonna have somebody else on very soon that I'm gonna keep a secret for now.
Ooh.
But I was also like when we were doing the book club the other night, I was like, Jenny and Adrian and Elaine, like I need to start expanding this to everybody who I feel like has like a pretty sharp mind, because I feel like it'll
Oh,
result in just like fun and interesting conversations. So
I love
just
that.
just to give you a background on my thought process of getting you on here. But
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, I love hearing stories, and especially stories of those that, like I said, I feel have a sharp mind and also have that kind of base level of respect for anybody who they might disagree with on any given small topic or whatever. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. I think that's really wise, to make sure you're in alignment with who you have on, even if you have some disagreements, that you can still have really sharp conversations, enjoyable flowing conversations. Yeah, I've been really mindful about vetting like who I bring onto my podcast as well, because I keep getting all these people like you should bring da 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 and you should do da da da, and I'm like, okay, thank you, but I'm not, I'm like I don't know that person. I
Right.
don't know if I would want to, because right now it's just people that I've known for some time and feel comfortable having a conversation with, and so I was like, okay, thanks. I'll keep that in mind. You know.
Well, that was definitely another, I guess, just reason that I was like, Jenny already has a podcast. So I already feel like she's comfortable having a conversation that's going to be published on the internet. Because I know that's a lot of, even people that I would like to have a conversation with,
Hmm.
there's a lot of people, even though they are sharp and are aligned with what I'm about, that just don't want to have a conversation published on the internet, which I respect that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, some people are like, this is one of the biggest fears that they have. It's not even death, it's like public speaking or putting themselves out there. And
Right.
so, yeah, so it's really it's important that people can come on and speak and not freak out, kind of thing.
Absolutely. What is your theme in terms of your podcast, or what would you say it's centered around?
Yeah, so the death podcast that I'm doing is really about helping people to ignite their inner light and live while they're still here, because I think so many of us we just kind of check out in life. I did that for a very long time. And so it's really having these conversations. I mean, we are talking about death. Yes, we are talking about the afterlife. And we're also talking about how do you really show up to your life now. And so we've talked about, like, I've had people on like Derek, talking about four agreements.
Mhm.
And I just did an interview yesterday with a gal I used to work with who was a parole officer with us. And she's now like a yoga teacher, Ayurvedic practitioner, tennis coach. She does all these things, which is super cool. And so just talking about how you don't have to just do one thing. I think we get programmed to think we have to do just this one thing. And so we talk about that, like having variety in your life, those kind of things. And then the other podcast I do is through the Flipside Theater, which is like getting a behind the scenes look at comedians, actors, writers, musical improvisers, and really kind of looking at their backstory, like looking behind, them and how they got started in comedy. And then we've talked everything from mental health to how it's like Buddhism. There's a guy that does mindful improv. I just did a interview with him, and how you can show up in the moment and really reprogram yourself to be very present through improv. And so that was a really cool conversation the other day. So I'm doing both of those right now, and it's been really rewarding, and it's been a lot of work, as you know, with podcasting.
How
It's
long have you been doing this?
just like a little bit under a year.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, so I just started with Flipside last year, doing the podcast. And then I just started my death podcast. I want to say I released my first one in January. Yeah, I think it was January. Maybe it was December, sometime around then. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I
Hmm.
do feel like, I'm not a painter, I'm not a drawer, I'm not a singer. I
Yeah.
have to have like an artistic, cathartic outlet in some way. And I graduated with a philosophy degree. So just having like conversations about anything that I find interesting, which is really anything related to the nature of reality. Death is something I've
Yeah.
talked about several times on here. Uh,
Hmm.
God or consciousness or nature, the fact
Yeah.
that putting a word on it already distorts what it is.
Right.
all,
Yeah.
all of those types of conversations are ones that I welcome myself.
That's
Um,
cool.
so yeah, it's awesome. You mentioned the backstories to the artists on your one podcast. That's really where I want the bulk of this conversation to center around.
Okay. Yeah.
My podcast is Toltec themed. Um,
Hmm.
and so, but it is the balancing act, right? Like we have to have the awareness that we're living in a story to be able to break away from stories that we don't want to be living. But then
Yeah.
even once we have that awareness, we're still in a world entangled with stories. Like we cannot help being in a story.
Yes.
So I do like hearing people's origin stories and then like where did you get from and then how did you get where you are now and then what type of artist are you now and what kind of message are you trying to put out into the world or imprint onto everybody else's story, so to speak.
Yeah. I love that you're doing that. And do I see your name Garnett?
Hmm.
Okay. I just want to make sure I say your name right. I didn't want to like mess it up. Okay.
It's said wrong all the time, so I would not take it personally, I promise you.
Yeah. Okay. I just think Garnet, darn it, like
That's
rhyme it.
exactly how it's easy to
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, it's the easiest
Okay.
way for sure.
Got it. Cool. Yeah. Well, great. Yeah. I'm excited to dive in with you. I'm happy to tell you my backstory, kind of what led me here, all the things. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess to start, like where were you born? And then were you raised religious, like in a church? Like
Oh, gosh.
how did
Yeah.
your worldview form as a child? What were your biggest influences? Was it your parents, grandparents, something else?
Yeah. Yeah, great question. So I was born in Springfield, Illinois, which I say is the true home of the Simpsons, because they were all like, Springfield. But it's a very tiny town in Illinois, and there wasn't a lot to do. I was raised Catholic, so from K to 12, I went to Catholic school. With the exception of sixth grade, I was able to go to public school. Then I got in a lot of trouble there. And I was literally like, I got suspended. I almost got expelled. And then they were like, it's, maybe you shouldn't come back. So I went back to, yeah, I went back to Catholic school. And that was a hard adjustment because, my friends were like, you left. Why, and so I was a little bit ostracized when I came back. But I did a lot of drugs growing up. That is how I coped. So I started drinking at about the age of 13,
Mm-hmm.
started smoking a lot of weed. So I told you there was not a lot of things to do. So we did a lot of acid, dropped a
Mm-hmm.
lot of acid, mushrooms, just like all the things I could get my hands on. Anything shy of putting a needle in my arm, I pretty much did. And I did that because I didn't want to be where I was. I didn't agree with the Catholic faith. I felt like it was definitely passed on from generation to generation. My dad and his two sisters were raised Catholic. It was in the family. And so they wanted to keep the tradition going. And, I mean, I think they meant well, right? Like our parents mean well. And I definitely get that now, like with all the work that we've done. I just know that it was really hard because my concept of God, it's recently changed, but I used to think he was just this white man with a big beard, like ZZ Top, like judging me, taking tabs on everything I did. And I thought, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would I be brought into this body, into this experience, and then be judged for everything I do? And plus I'm a lesbian, so I was like, well, I'm fucked because in the Catholic Church, they say hate the sin, love the sinner, or like something like that. And I'm like, but I'm definitely a sinner because I am a lesbian, so I'm going to go to hell. That was my understanding. And so, you know, with that kind of awareness at that time, I was like, well, I don't give a shit. So I just did whatever I wanted to do. And I was a pretty rebellious kid. My mom sent me to a place called Outward Bound when I think I was 14 or 15. And Outward Bound is a place where kids go when their parents find drugs on them. I happened to have a big bag of weed in my drawer that my mom found and it had pills in it as well. So I was off to Outward Bound and I spent a week there and the whole goal was to not smoke weed and to not uh, to like look at your life and see the independence that you could have and also to I don't know, try not to do drugs anymore. But the kids I went with, they were all boys, me, a female camp counselor and a male camp counselor, and the boys smoked weed. They were like, "Do you want to smoke weed?" And I was like, "No!" Like the whole point of the trip is we're not supposed to smoke weed. Like, no. I was like, they're probably gonna drug test us, which he did when we got back, and I was like, "Oh, I'm cool," because I didn't smoke with them, but they did. But I mean, I continued to smoke after that. And I, sadly, like with the camp counselor, I went to her house, smoked weed with her, and like out of a Pepsi can. It was so weird. And that's where I learned about like boundaries. Like she had no boundaries at all. So kind of locked that in, at a younger age. Like, oh, okay, well, this is how you probably shouldn't respond to people, when you're in a position of power. But yeah, it was a very interesting childhood. And I know I just gave you a ton to
No, that's
respond
good.
to,
That's
but
good to work with.
yeah,
What?
so that
That's
was a
high
big,
school?
that's high school. Yeah.
What happened after that?
So after high school, I went to college. I went to a Southern Baptist college on a soccer scholarship. I was a
Okay.
goalie. I was actually pretty good, and it was interesting because I smoked weed pretty much every day of high school, but I was a really good goalkeeper. I always make a joke, they don't put you in a box blocking balls for nothing when you're a lesbian. So I make that little joke. But so I was doing that. I got the scholarship, and when we got to campus, our dorms weren't ready, so they put us up in a hotel and we had 3-a-day practices. So we'd get up in the morning, we'd practice in the afternoon and at night. And the morning usually consisted of running. And I was a goalie. And I was like, I don't run. I'm a goalie. I stand in the box. Sometimes I have to run a little bit, but I ended up quitting. I forfeited my scholarship. I thought that drinking and using drugs was like the better option. Oh, and I smoked cigarettes at the time too. So that made it, difficult when running and all the things. So I just was like, nope, I'm done. And I ended up graduating from college. I got my degree in social work.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I moved out to Colorado and I worked in community corrections for 18 years before the facility that I worked at closed. And and then and then I got into the teachings too. Do you want me to tell you about that? When I got into
That was my next question was what led you to
Yeah.
the Toltec?
Yeah, so it was 2008 when a client I was working with. So I was a substance use counselor, working with men and women coming out of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and they were in a program called TDAT, which was Transitional Drug Abuse Treatment Program. And I was the counselor, and I was actively drinking, not on the job, but when I would come in, I'd often be hungover. And I was like, oh, I am such a hypocrite. One day, a client asked me, have you read this book, The Four Agreements? And I said, no, what's that? And he was like, it'll change your life. It's a great book. So I was like, okay, well, I probably should read it. So I read it, and the first agreement, which is be impeccable with your word, I was like, wow, I'm really out of alignment with this one because I'm coming into do drug and alcohol counseling with people like super hungover and like trying to tell them, yeah, you should, stay sober and do all these things with your life. And so I realized I was very hypocritical. I also had a therapist at the time, and it was Halloween of 2008, and I dressed as jailbait. So I didn't have a lot of clothes on. I had these long boots. I walked home. It was like 5.5 miles. I had these awful, like, sores on my feet from the boots I was wearing. And my partner at the time she took my car, her and her friend, and they were super drunk, and they went out looking for me because I had walked home and it had been several hours that they hadn't heard from me. And thank God nobody was hurt. They didn't, wreck my car or anything. But she had also called my dad at like 4 in the morning trying to
Mm,
find me.
mm.
My dad's like, no, like I haven't heard from her. So this like compounded over time, all these things that were happening. And I was like, I'm done. I can't drink anymore. This isn't working. This is causing a lot of stress for me, my family, my job. It's not good. And so I quit. And so I have a sober date of November 10th, 2008. I haven't drank.
Congrats.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I quit, and I quit smoking pot in my 20s, and cigarettes, and it was alcohol that was my biggest thing. And cocaine, I dabbled in that quite a bit for a while, but I quit that in my 20s as well. And there's something that's been so cool with me, like with addiction. I know it sounds weird, but I've been able to just quit things. Like when I quit, I quit. And a lot of people go through like relapses or lapses, whatever you want to call them. And I've just been really fortunate because I haven't had that experience. And yeah, my friend Lori used to call it God's grace. She would say, it's God's grace. Wow. Yeah. So that's my story,
That's
Garnett.
amazing. Yeah. I mean, full disclosure, I am very pro cannabis.
Okay. Yeah.
And psychedelics in general, but I do truly emphasize the set and setting, which includes mindset.
Sure.
Um, yeah, because when they're used to escape, which you mentioned earlier, like that's why you were using, and even it becomes abuse if that's the reason for it.
Yeah.
But when used intentionally to face the issues that you have going on in your life, I do think that there is a amplifier effect that can really help you embody what you do want rather than running from what you don't want.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And alcohol, I agree with you. That was my biggest one too. I did quit for a whole year in 2020, and I have a
Oh,
much healthier relationship with it now. I do drink again, but I
yeah.
stay away from liquor. That's
No,
dangerous.
yeah.
Not that I'll never do it, but I'm very cognizant of the just that so little of that can do so much. And again, even with that, it's more of a mindset thing. I don't drink alone. It's a social lubricant, and that's what I use it for.
Yeah.
And then cocaine is one that I avoid altogether. I had family people that had pretty big issues with that. That I just saw the impact of what happens when you. I just don't see any benefit of that one. That one seems like the whole point of it is to escape and to like just like party, but in a kind of destructive manner. You know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so that's one I'm against basically all pharmaceuticals, and the only like synthetic ones that I would even say, and again, it's synthetic, so you need to be even more careful with dosage and setting, and your mindset especially would be LSD, which you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier, and
Yeah.
MDMA. But again, with them being synthetic, you just got to be really careful about falling into dependent patterns. Um,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So have you done ayahuasca then, or do you do plant medicine?
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of plant medicine. That's the one that I have yet to do.
Okay.
I have smoked DMT. I'm not opposed to that, but I do think ayahuasca is the last few times I smoked DMT, it was pretty much like ayahuasca is the way you're supposed to do this, you know?
Mhm.
That was
Yeah.
kind of the message that I got from it. So I've just kind
Yeah.
of been waiting for the timing on that. But like peyote for sure is one that I'm very strong proponent of. Just the spirit of it is anti-addictive. Like it's giving you lessons. Like you're not there's nothing. It's like that's kind of like the opposite of cocaine. It's kind of like how you can't use cocaine to be conscious and intentional. You can't really use peyote to escape. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I love that one for sure. But
Yeah.
although I'm a proponent of plant medicine, I really like I do think that the mindset and this Toltec stuff comes first. Like
Yeah.
I'm a cannabis coach. So like you have
Oh, okay.
psilocybin coaches and ayahuasca ceremony,
Mhm.
leaders and stuff like that. I use cannabis for those types of ceremonies. But I infuse the Toltec and I emphasize it to the point where it's like you want to have this mindset in order to be able to use it intentionally. Like if you're allowing your parasite to run free, it's not the same experience. Like you really want to dial into what am I looking to get out of this? Not what am I running from, what am I running toward? And
Mhm.
then it can be an experience where it amplifies, it gives you ideas on how to actually accomplish that goal or how to actually manifest that vision. So it's a tool, and tools need to be used. A hammer can be used to build a house, and a hammer can be used to destroy a house. So
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't know you did that.
yeah,
That's
yeah, for sure.
cool. Hmm.
So I want to ask, like, have you looked beyond, like, what books beyond the Four Agreements have you explored?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I've read pretty much all of Don Miguel's books,
Perfect.
Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., and Don Jose Jossay Ruiz as well. My good friend, The Rattlesnake by Don Jose
Jose.
Jossay was, I felt very like parallel lives with him in a way because I thought, oh, yeah, we both had different events that occurred in our lives that were quite similar, especially with the use of substances and then, getting sober. And so I felt very connected to them, in that way. And uh, gosh, what other books have I read? I mean, I have this whole Let Them. I'm just looking at that right now. Mel Robbins, love her. She's the let them theory, like let them be how they are, and then let me do what I'm going to do. It very well is in line with the Four Agreements.
Sounds like
Like,
radical acceptance.
Yeah, radical acceptance. Let others be who they are and what they want to be. Let go of the control, let go of the need to think it's all about you, with taking it personal.
Hmm.
And decide, take your paintbrush back, decide to paint your own canvas, and that's what I've done. I've broken a ton of my people-pleasing patterning through the books that I've read. Brene Brown, she's another one.
Oh yeah, I
I love
love her.
her.
Yeah.
I love her. I'm trying to think of her books, the title of her books. But I love her and reading her books and then also watching her Netflix special. She had a Netflix special. It was really good. Let me look at my other books. Gosh, I
Have you read
have,
The Actor by Don Miguel?
yes, The Actor. Yes, I've read that.
Yeah.
Um, the Grief book that he wrote as well.
Hmm.
And
Eros,
yeah,
the Mystery School series. I love all three of those for sure.
yeah, it's so good. I mean, and I love too what they tell us. They're like, don't believe me. Don't
Right.
believe yourself. Don't believe anybody else.
Right.
Like really, when
No,
I
that's
first,
that's one of my favorite passages in any of their books. And it's like,
yeah,
if you doubt everything, if you truly doubt everything, and you actually, I think even me, anybody, the first time they do it, there's those beliefs that are just sticking to you that you haven't really excavated yet. But if you apply that practice and keep applying that practice to everything you experience and everything you think, the only thing that's going to remain is truth. Because lies dissipate when you stop believing them. They feed on your belief, whereas truth is going to
yeah,
be the truth, even if you doubt it.
totally. Yeah, 100%. And I love to remind myself, Don McGill Jr. taught us this, that I'm dreaming. I am dreaming while I'm awake. People think, oh, I go to sleep and I dream. Well, we still dream while we're awake. And I keep reminding myself of that, especially if I'm in a moment of, let's say I'm taking something personal, I'll like pinch myself and I'll be like, you're dreaming. You're dreaming. What's this about? Why are you taking this personal? And before, I would just be mad at myself for taking it personal, but now I excavate it. And I'm like, well, what's that about? What wound did this trigger or hit on that now you have your own medicine to heal? Because we do, we all have our own medicine.
I
And I think that has been another really big learning lesson that I've received from the Ruiz family is that we carry our own medicine bag, and so we can really truly dive into these wounds and heal them. And yes, sometimes we need like coaches and therapists and people to help us kind of excavate stuff. Absolutely. I think that though we have our own medicine, that we can just truly, it was Mary Jo Honey-Otis that said, you may have pushed my buttons, but you didn't invent them. And I love that quote because I'm just like, oh yeah, yeah, that's my responsibility. I might be triggered, but it's my responsibility to address it. Yeah.
Yeah, when you said getting mad at yourself for taking it personally, I totally feel you on that. Like I've definitely turned the four agreements into four conditions
Yeah.
for self-acceptance. Um, and when I heard him put it like that, that was I've been practicing this exactly. You said 2008, which was really surprising because we're almost right in alignment there. I found it, or the first time I read it was Christmas 2008, so right at the end of
Oh
2008.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I've been like just almost dogmatic with it because it was so liberating and I could just feel how like healthy and like cathartic it was for me to practice this way of being and to continue to immerse myself in their teachings. But because of I guess the way I was raised and my subconscious habits,
Hmm.
there was a point where it was like I almost turned I definitely did. I turned them into conditions. I would get really mad at myself if I was not impeccable with my word. I would get really mad at myself and really like, depressed if I took something personally because it's like I'm better than that, you know what I mean? But it's like that moment of it's already over. Like forgive yourself immediately and get right back on to doing your best at
Yeah.
practicing the other agreements. Doing your best is the key because that's
It
the one
is.
that's about the action.
Yes, that brings them all together, right? That
Hmm.
helps them bring them to life. So be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions. When you can do your best, that is like really igniting how you show up for those. And I love that you said too that you were, you know, turning them into the four conditions because we can do that really easily. Be like, oh, I'm not supposed to take things personally. Why am I taking this personally? Or, or why am I making assumptions? I'm gossiping or I'm doing these things. And it's like, no, what? You know what? That's okay. You're a human being. Allow yourself to have these moments and let it go. Let it go. I think that's what the biggest thing with me is I held on to things for so long, or, like these being raised Catholic, you don't really express your emotions. So, at least that was my experience. I'll say that. Let me disclaimer. That was my experience. So, I didn't really express my emotions. So, they have been in my body wanting to express. And, another form of repression was my drinking. So, I would just repress, repress. I wouldn't want to feel them. And so, being raised Catholic, and this is my own experience, I did not really feel my feelings. And so when I became an adult and I quit drinking, I had a lot of feelings come up. And so I was like, oh God, I got to feel these feelings. And even now, doing improv has been a really cool way for me to express in a very short amount of time. And so I can be everything from joyful to sad to angry, all in a mere like a period of less than a minute. And it's super fun because my body's like, "Oh, I'm expressing. I'm able to get this
Hmm.
out."
Right.
And I'm doing it in a way where it's comedic too. So it's cathartic and it's comedic.
Yeah.
And so I love the two that have come together to meet me and greet me and allow me a space and a place, excuse me, to release, to allow myself to really have my voice, which is funny because it's like, yeah, so keep speaking my voice. Yeah, it's giving me that chance.
You were
Yeah.
talking about like how we're dreaming even when we're awake. And people think that we're only dreaming when we're asleep, but when we're awake, there's just a frame to it, but we're still dreaming. I
Yeah.
feel like there's some sort of, and I just want to hear like your perspective on this. When I was talking about at the very beginning, like how we can have awareness that we're living in the story, and it's better to have awareness when we're living in a story than to not have awareness and for the story to kind of run our lives.
Yes.
I feel like there's a one-on-one like analogy to the being aware that we're dreaming when we're awake. That allows us to be the author of our story because we're aware that it's just a dream and that we're going to go, return to the infinite when we die, so
Yeah.
it gives us that power, really. That awareness is power to become the author of your story rather than to operate, as like somebody that's being run by the story. You know what I mean?
Yes. 100%. Because I like that you put air quotes when we die, because it's like,
Our
and
body dies when our
our
body
body
dies.
dies, but our
Right.
energy, our spirit continues.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that, and I feel like I've been given evidence of that because I haven't told you yet about my wife who passed away suddenly in 2018.
Hmm.
So she had bacterial meningitis, and it was a headache on a Monday, and all this hospital, ER, flight for life, all this stuff in a period of a week. It was crazy. Saturday morning, she passed away. So it was just like, whoa. And she was just 53 years old. So when that happened, I was like in so much grief and so much, I was in my victimhood for sure too. I stayed as a widow for a very long time. Like I used that title and realized this is the story I keep creating for myself. Do I want to keep living in this story? And yes, it was incredibly sad. It was incredibly painful. And it was also a gift. And I can say that now, being 8 years later, because she taught me that our energy continues. Like I do mediumship, and so I can talk to her, and I've had other people bring her through, and she's a very good communicator, and she was too in this life. So it's really cool to see that continue. and understand that love never dies. It just transforms. And so when I really understood that and started to get that, it enabled me to really be able to live again and be alive while I'm still here. Because I was in my grief for probably 4 years, 4 or 5 years, like heavy grief, and not knowing what I was doing, not knowing where I was going. And then in 2021 is when I started the apprenticeship with the Ruiz family. Took a deep dive into looking at my stories, my victim, my parasite, my matote, all the
Mhm.
things that
The
go on in
judge,
our
the
mind.
victim, and the book of law.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I'm really living in my shit. And I can continue to do that, and that's fine.
Right.
And, Miguel talks about heaven on earth and hell on earth. And I was definitely in hell on earth for quite some time. And then I realized I don't want to live in hell on earth. And I know Amy didn't want me to be there either, my late wife. So I was like, okay, this is up to me. This is up to my own awareness, my own perception, that I can change the story at any time. I'm the writer, director, producer of my own story. So do I like sitting in this? No. Do I want to change this? Yes. So I ended up really applying the tools and doing the work and excavating, okay, well, what is this about? And when you start doing that, it's like, it's this opportunity to really start to be like, okay, I'm dreaming and I get to create the dream that I want to live in. And that's what I've been doing. So it's it's much more
Perfect.
fun this way.
No
Yeah.
doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, oh, I had a thought there and I lost it.
It'll come back.
Well, yeah, I'll go back to one that I had before. Have you read The Mastery of Love?
Yes.
The chapter about the divine huntress? You remember
Yes.
that one? So I don't want to I don't want to like butcher that story, but I have my own story that I feel like maps onto that one basically exactly, but just for me telling the story with a little bit more ease. The
Mhm.
way that I see God or us or consciousness or love, whatever word you want to put on that which is real, that which is true, that which is
Mhm.
beyond the symbols and the words,
Yeah.
I feel like we are all one. And you hear that across all religions, all basically all spiritual, communities can kind of agree on this unity, oneness concept. But we all live our own individual dreams, and we're all our own individual dreamers. And I think in the Divine Huntress, he says something about like cutting himself up or cutting herself up into a million pieces. And then the game is to find yourselves, and to remember who
Mhm.
you are, to remember the truth.
Yes.
And I agree with that 100%, but I also see where society is very lost. Like
Mhm.
there's the people like us that have remembered that we are God are very like endangered species level where
Right.
we need
Yeah.
to like amplify this message to get people to realize that the whole point of this dream is to have fun with each other. Because if
Yeah.
we were to return to God and we were returned to an experience of just true oneness, that
Mhm.
would might be great for a moment, but then we're going to do exactly what we did before. We're going to want to have fun with ourselves. So we're going to divide ourself into a million different beings so that we can have fun with ourselves. You know what I mean? And you
Right.
kind of want to not fully have that awareness because it's almost more fun that way, but we've lost so much awareness that we're not even having fun anymore. So we at least need to raise the awareness to like we don't need to return to oneness to where we don't even have individual bodies. I'm not for that necessarily,
Yeah.
but we need to realize that the whole point of this dream, the whole point of separateness is to have fun with each other, not to tear each other down and to play this game of I'm better than you and the scarcity game. Like this is it's out of control at this point, and that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast is just to have these types of conversations, even if there's only one aspect of the conversation that resonates with a listener. If that just that one aspect of resonance, if that can help the world, then I've done what I wanted to do. I've accomplished my goal.
I love that. Yeah. I agree with you. I do agree with the oneness concept, and I agree with the fact that the whole point of being here is to have fun. And I think what happens is we've lost our ability to have fun because we get so caught up in the dream of
The
I have
fog,
to be this or I have to do that. What'd you say?
the smoky
A
mirror,
fog. Yeah. And I am
which is
a
just
teacher.
interpretations of the light. It's just
Yeah.
different interpretations, different symbols is causing all of this fog and all of this distortion and all of this disrespect between human beings. It's on one hand, it's magical. Like, how did our magic get so powerful that we're this lost? But that's the same
Mm,
magic that's going to return us to heaven on earth. So it's like, it is a balancing act for sure, but man, we're very lost in this moment, and that's why I want to amplify your voice and my voice and people that have remembered who we really are. You know,
yeah. Well, I think because we get so caught up in it's our egos that way. I am a teacher, I'm a coach, I'm this, I am that. And, like I am a spiritual being having a human experience, and it's fucking weird and fun. It's like a combination of things. And I think we just get so caught up in like labels and words, like you said earlier, they don't have any meaning until we put meaning to them. And
until we
so
agree. And I actually
we agree
remembered what
to
I
them.
forgot.
Yeah, is that what you were going to say? Yeah.
Yes, just the word, the whole thing that I missed and kind of blanked out on was just the word agreement in and of itself. Like, it's the four agreements, the fifth agreement. You don't have to agree. It's your
Right.
choice to agree. And I've even been guilty of that, of looking at Don Miguel and Don Miguel Jr. and Don Jose as like heroes. And in a way, they're still
Oh,
heroes
sure.
to me.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I'm starting to love myself more because it's like I'm the one that agreed with all of this. I'm the one that saw that vision and practiced it and put all of my willpower into it. Like, I deserve to love myself for that because, yes, they're amazing and they're great. And I do look at them as heroes in a certain way, but I don't put them above me anymore. Like, I was the one that agreed with all of that. Like, the agreement is the power, and that's my power to agree with it or not.
Yes, I love that you said that, Garnett. And the thing is, we we're reflections of love. So we're all reflections for each other. And so when I saw Don Miguel Ruiz at Teo, I always say Teo because I can't pronounce it right. When we were in Mexico City, in Mexico, I
Teotihuacan, Teotihuacan,
thank
Teotihuacan.
you. Yes,
I've
there
heard
we
a lot of
go.
different pronunciations.
Yeah, Teo, Tecado. Yeah, so when I met his eyes, and I had met him in 2012 too, randomly manifested having dinner with him. A good friend of mine, we were big fans of the Four Agreements, right? It's 2012. And she's like, guess what? I'm going to dinner with Don Miguel Ruiz. And I was like, what? I was like, "Well, I want to go. Can I go?" And she was like, well, let me see, let me see. And she's like, okay, you're in. I was like, what? And I met him and Eva and then a couple of their friends. And I was like so nervous. You were talking about, like kind of putting them, you didn't say on a pedestal, but that's kind of what I did. And I remember sweating, like I was pitting out, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. This is like my hero. I gave him two thank you cards because I just was like, one's not enough. I got to do two. And telling him like how much he changed my life.
I can resonate with that. Like, I literally, I could not put my gratitude into words for them. It's
Yeah.
beyond any, like, yes, I am the one that agreed to it, but at the same time, it's like the yin yang. Like, they're the ones that put that
Mm,
information out there, which is so powerful, which is so transformative. So it is right for me to look at them as heroes in one way, but it's
mhm.
also like I'm the one that agreed with that vision and that like resonated to such an extent that I would make like put them on a pedestal because I wanted to be where they were. And then by actually practicing what they were teaching, you do eventually get there and find that like unbreakable level of self-love, the just blissful experience of being in love with yourself.
Yes. I love that you said that, being in love with yourself, because Jossay has taught us that. Like they'll put their hands on their face and say, you are the love of your life. I'm like, oh yeah. Because I would constantly put that outside of me and I'd be like, oh, you're the love of my life. You're the love of my life. And I was like, when I came back home to me, I thought, well, that's pretty amazing. So when I locked eyes with Don Miguel again at Teo, I was like, that's love being reflected back to me. What a beautiful thing, because I blew him a kiss and waved at him. He was like hanging out with some other people. He did the same thing back. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then I brought like all my books with me and I was like, will you sign these? Even if you signed it back in 2012, will you sign it again?
Yeah.
Like currently, will you update it? Because he did sign my books in 2012 as well at the restaurant. I brought a couple of them with me. And so that was a really, really neat, very cool experience to be on that power journey. We were there with Don Miguel for his last one. I mean, that's his last one.
Yeah.
We got to watch him say, "Okay, you guys have this now. Keep it going."
I
With
love
this.
I love how they call it a power journey instead of a spiritual retreat because
Yeah.
they're very careful with their words. And I caught
Yes.
myself like when I came back home and had people asking me like why I went and stuff like that. I caught
Mhm.
myself like wanting to call it a spiritual retreat, but I was like, they didn't call it that because what are we retreating from? It's a journey into our own power, you know?
Yes. I love
And
that.
yeah, so I was just like, it was a journey. I didn't call it a power journey because with some people because I didn't know how that was going to be taken, but just like it was
Mhm.
a journey to the pyramids in Mexico. I
Yeah.
didn't want to call it a retreat because it was like why do people even call it what are we retreating from? A retreat is to me is like a vacation. It's like you're just trying to get away from something that you're going to have to go back to. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Oh, I love that
I
you put
quit
it
my
that way.
job when I got back.
You did?
Yeah, I was working at a dispensary actually, but like again, like what I was talking about earlier, they're not all they care about is the bottom line. They don't care if people are using it unconsciously. They don't care if people are using it with dependence. They don't care if the quality of their product is subpar. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? All they care about is the bottom line, and I just couldn't. I was no longer aligned. I was never really aligned with that, but I just couldn't stomach it anymore.
It makes sense. Yeah. Good for you for just being like, this isn't in alignment with me anymore. Because how often do people stay in jobs that are totally unaligned for so long? I mean, I stayed in the community corrections job for 18 years, working as a program director for the last 10. And I needed to leave like 5 years in to that because I was and COVID, trying to work there through COVID, I had an eye twitch that wouldn't stop. My body was like, you need to get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
And then when they closed, I was like, thank you, universe. Because the universe is like, all right, we're going to move you. You're going to
yeah,
pivot. You're going to do something
yeah,
different.
yeah.
And I love that because I feel like I get to co-create with the universe. I get to do that, and then I went to grad school for a hot second. I was going as a non-degree seeking student. I was going to pursue social work and I was doing it for other people and I didn't want to do it. I was like, my friend Lori said, go get your master's. You'll have so much more so many more things you can do. I was like, oh, all right. And so I was enrolled and then I got a letter from the college saying, you didn't make it into the social work program. So I was like, cool, I got rejected. Fine. I'd pivot. I'm going to do something else. That was in April. And then in August, the apprenticeship came up with the Ruiz family. And I was like, this is why. This is where I need to be. And
It
so I've been
all
studying with them for like
It's
5 years.
crazy when you look back on your journey, it does feel predestined in many
Yeah,
ways.
it is.
Um, I was talking about this with Michelle when I had her on. It's like the delicate balance between free will and predestination because when I look back on my life, it does feel like stuff like that. I've had a lot of synchronicities in my life like that where it's like, oh, it was like all of that was meant to be.
Right.
But then it's like, well, we still have free will. We still have an ability to choose between this choice and, even right now, I could be like, we're wrapping the podcast up. If that's one choice, or we can continue. Like every moment has so many branches of decisions. So it's like there is an element of free will in this experience for sure. But then there's
Yes.
also the cause and effect of when you look back on things, and it's like it only could have happened like that for it to be the way it is.
Right.
And it reminds me of the very last sentence of the Four Agreements, which again is one of my favorite. I have a lot of favorites, but one that sticks with me is we may not be able to avoid the destiny of the human, but we do have a choice to enjoy the destiny or to resist it.
Oh, yeah.
And just that choice, in my experience, choosing to enjoy my destiny rather than resist it, changed the destiny. So it's like there's this weird, like it's free will, but it's predestined at the same time. It's very quantum strangeness.
Yeah, the quantum entanglement, quantum
Yeah.
strangeness. I like that you said that. Yeah, I think the only constant in life is change. And so you can get on board or not, and it's up to you to decide, are you going to resist it or are you going to enjoy it? And I resisted it for a very long time, so I'm now very much enjoying it, much more than when I was resisting it. And I think that needed to happen though, like you were saying too. There were these things that they're kind of pre-orchestrated, although you're saying like there is free will too. There's always that free will choice. I do believe though that we come in kind of predestined to look at things in the human experience, to evolve,
Yeah.
to
We didn't choose our language. We didn't choose our name. We didn't choose our birthplace. Like there's a lot that we did not choose, but then there's this
yeah.
dance between that which we did not choose and that which we're experiencing in this moment.
Yes. Yeah. And I think we always have that choice to decide, am I going to be on my own hero's journey or am I going to be the victim? The choice is always yours.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I did a whole episode on victim mentality.
yeah, yeah.
To me, it's like, even if you really are a victim in any particular situation, holding on to that victim mentality is just bringing that past situation into the present.
Hmm.
Even if you really were victimized in any given event, the only way to transform that experience and your present experience into something better is by letting go of that, by forgiving yourself and whoever, was involved with that situation or incident or event or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but the victim mentality is what brings those horrible events, and now you're living it in the present moment. That's what the victim mentality really does.
Yeah. And as the Ruiz family has taught us, it's like carrying the dead bodies, like
Literally.
you're literally carrying dead bodies with you. Why? You wouldn't carry your trash around with you. You throw it away. So why do you keep carrying this garbage with you that isn't serving you or helping you in any way?
Yeah.
I mean, you can remember where you came from, sure, that's fine. And remember what you've gone through. Yet you don't have to keep carrying it and reliving it. Because what Miguel Sr. says, we're the only animal that will punish ourselves over and over again for the same thing.
Right.
It's madness. Like,
And
why would we
yeah.
do that to ourselves? We do it all the time
Yep.
by reliving something that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. And our body doesn't know the difference when we're thinking about it again. Our body's like, oh God, we're in this again,
Yep.
like reliving it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every other animal, they make a mistake. The mistake could be as costly as death, but even if it's not, they pay for that mistake one time, and then
Yeah.
they keep living in the moment. They
Yeah.
continue to follow their instincts. But
Yeah. They
us,
course correct. They're just
yeah.
like, okay, just gonna do this instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to talk about one more Toltec concept, and then we'll talk about like your what your work is, because I know you mentioned you wanted to talk about that a little bit, and then we'll wrap
Oh,
it up.
sure. Yeah.
But the Toltec concept is just because what we were just talking about, like there is fear that is good for us. If like Bobcat was to pop up in my backyard and like start attacking my cat or me, you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
there's real fear that is beneficial to our experience because it provides the ability to freeze, what is it? Flight, flight,
Fight,
whatever.
flight, or
Flight,
freeze.
fight, flight, yeah, whatever.
It's the three
Uh,
F's. It's fine.
yeah, 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 exactly. But because of our powerful memory, we have all of these irrational fears. And so, you know, I I just want to kind of discern between fear that is beneficial for our experience and then the fear that you were just talking about that's trash that we're carrying around because I do think it's important to make that discernment because I do think there is fear that is actually beneficial. And like there's a reason why we even have the ability to be scared of something.
Yeah. So I think Miguel Jr. did a really nice job of describing this when he said he was holding his newborn son and his son was totally fine. And he's just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I had this baby, this is cool. And then he started thinking about, oh my God, what if he dies? What if like all these what ifs that happen? His baby's totally fine. There's nothing that's happening that's interfering with the situation. It's just his own mind. It's his thoughts. And I think that's what happens is our thoughts can overpower us to think, oh my God, this is really scary. This is happening, but nothing's really happening to that person or that individual. That's where those irrational fears are coming in. And we all have them, And so it's like, how do we distinguish between the two? I think is really imperative, and it starts with awareness.
Yeah.
Like, what am I? Okay, am I really? Let's say money. Money's big thing for people. Big thing for me. It can be a scarcity mindset. You brought that up earlier. Okay. Oh my God. I don't have any money. Like, what am I going to do? I have no money. Wait, is that really true? Like, do I really have no money? No, I have a roof over my head. I have clothes on my body. I have food in my fridge. Like, I do have things. But then there's also this, yes, I do have to make money because that's the way of this world. So it's a matter of discerning because people can get really anxious about this. Really, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear can come in, because this is their livelihood. So it's like making sure that, yes, you do have money, you do have like logically talking yourself through things, I think are really helpful. Okay, what is it true? What is true right now in this moment? Like I have this home, I have, clean clothes, I have food, all these things. I have a job. Okay. Maybe I don't make as much money as I want to, but that can change. You can always change this. And I think we get into this mindset of thinking, no, it's always going to be this way, or I'm always going to have not enough.
I'm glad you brought up money because I think that is, yeah, I talk about conspiracies sometimes and I won't go too deep into like conspiracy theory talk, but
Okay.
I do think money ultimately it's about energy and power and they want our power, which is why I don't get too pessimistic about it because the whole purpose of a conspiracy would be to get our power. So that's implying that we're powerful, which is like the most optimistic stance you could have, right?
Yeah.
Um, but our power lies in our love and our emotions. And if keeping us in a fear-based state is kind of like a control mechanism. And so if they can keep us fearing our lack of money when money is really a web of agreements, like
Ah,
it's
yes.
it's literally nothing more than a bunch of agreements, a quantum entanglement of agreements that we've made. Because money, it's just a piece of paper ultimately, or at this point, 97% of it is computer code. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So we can change the computer code. We just need to like be very clear about our agreements. And people are like oftentimes, especially when it comes to money, very unclear and very like scared to even like get clear on what agreements they have regarding that.
Yes, I love that you said money is a web of agreements because that's true. And you have to excavate your beliefs and really look at them like where is this fear of money coming from? Because you said it's energy. And
Yeah.
so, and beliefs are just thoughts you think over and over again so you can change them. So go ahead and excavate it. Look at your belief. Find a new one. Find a new agreement,
And the reason I
Understand.
interrupted you when you brought it up and thank you for bringing it up is because ever since I quit my job, which is not that long ago, when I got back from Teotihuacan, whenever I
Yeah.
have that fear of like, oh, I do need to like start doing something to make some money, it's like, how about breathing
Right.
and setting your frequency to that which is I've already got money and
Yes.
attract it. And I know that sounds woo woo to some people, but when you start looking at the actual science behind heart math and coherence, that's
Mhm.
actually where you want to be. That's where the real wealth is.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm trying to think of the heart coherence because I've read his books. Who you're talking about?
Braden, Greg Braden.
Greg Braden, and there's another
Joe
guy too.
Dispenza.
Joe Dispenza, yes. And so, being able to like look at that and understand, okay, yeah, sure, I do need to get some money coming in, but let me get my frequency on the channel I want to be on. Because if you're on the channel or the frequency of fear, you're just going to keep attracting more fear. Like attracts like.
Hmm.
So I think it's really important for us to understand, don't negate it. Don't be like, I'm not in fear. I'm okay. I have money. Really look at it. Okay, like what is the fear about? Where did this come from? Oh, I learned this when I was really young. I had to pay for phone calls. This really happened when I was little. I had to pay for a local call and a long distance call, 5 cents and 10 cents. That is, yeah. And so I realized, oh, you have to pay for connection. So I can only go out and connect with you if I buy your lunch or if I buy your coffee. That has been a deep-rooted belief in me because I always thought I had to pay for connection. So really understanding that can free you up from having these agreements. You can change them. And so you don't always have to have them. So I love that you said frequency. Get on the dial, a frequency of where you want to be. Don't negate the feelings. You have to feel to heal. Feel your emotions. Allow yourself that space and then give yourself a new agreement. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So what is the work that you're doing?
So I do mindset coaching. So I help people with their mindsets. I love doing that work. I do mediumship as well. So connecting people with their loved ones. And I love being able to help them understand they can do that, not me. They don't need me as the channel. And helping teach them how to do that themselves, looking for the signs. The signs happen all the time. I think it's just we have to be aware of them.
Like
So I do that
goosebumps and
work.
lights flickering?
Yeah, there's lights flickering. There's things that happen. You can get goosebumps. You can get license plates. Amy comes through on license plates all the time, and she comes through in human form by people showing up for, her mom was going through a lot of stuff medically, and then the lady would come in. She's like, "Hi, my name's Amy." Like, of course it is, So letting us know that she's being taken care of. Angel numbers 111.
Mhm.
That's a huge one for me and Amy. We connect with that. When I did American Ninja Warrior, that was my run number. That was my room number. That was my family's room number
You
on the
did
other side
American
of
Ninja
town.
Warrior?
Yeah, I did it back
That's
in
awesome.
2022. Yeah, it was a wild experience. I did it in San Antonio. And even the check number, they send you a check for food for a couple $100. And the check number had 111 on it as well. I was like, whoa. And Amy was like totally there. And so was my friend Lori. The producer who called me, his name was Errol Lori. Like his last name was spelled the exact same way as my best buddy. I was like, your last name's Lori? What the fuck? I was like, okay, am I on like spiritual candid
No, the
camera?
synchronicities have been ramping up, especially
Yeah.
for me since Teotihuacan.
Yeah?
While I was in Teotihuacan, I was reading Eros, his book Eros,
Hmm.
and I was like at lunch and we had to go to an event. There was maybe it was a class. I forget what it was, but I had to put a bookmark right in the middle of the chapter. Normally I try to at least finish the chapter or get to like one of the stars, like the set stopping points. But this one was, I just had to stop right there. And I didn't pick it back up until after the fire ceremony on New Year's Eve. And I picked it back up and I
Hmm.
opened it up. And the first passage right after that, the next passage that I would have read if I hadn't had to stop right there was, imagine you are sitting around a campfire at night.
I love that.
I mean, just stuff like that has been
Yeah.
happening incredible frequency for a few
Yeah.
months now.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think and that's confirmation that you're in alignment with, where you are. And those are confirmations. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So that was a beautiful confirmation. And so yeah, I love doing that. And then I also do improv, like team building for people that are working on like active communication skills and they want to do it in a humorous way. We can do improv, little short games with people, and I do trainings, I do boundaries work, trainings with people using the four agreements.
That was
So
that was my next question was, do you infuse
yeah.
your like the Toltec wisdom into your mindset coaching?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, pretty much with everything I do in
same.
my
Yeah.
personal and professional life. Yeah. I use the four agreements are my guideposts for everything. Yeah.
I do my best to live by them as well. It's a true practice, it's not just a concept that I can refer to when it's convenient. Like, no, this is like, if I was a devout Christian, this is my Bible. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
this
totally.
is what I live by. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Garnet, do you find it like your life is just in flow and ease when you're living by them?
Yeah.
Not the conditions, not the four conditions, but the
Yeah.
four agreements. Like
Right.
when you're in flow.
100%. Yeah. And the word, I know I mentioned it earlier, but the word agreement itself is just so perfect. They're not the four rules. They're not,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like it's up to you. It's so freedom oriented, and it literally is a practical guide to personal freedom. It's
Yes.
just we're not telling you you have to live this way, but guess what? We're living in bliss. You should check it out.
Yeah.
I
Pretty
highly
cool.
recommend.
I'm high on life, literally.
For real. For real. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing stuff. Well, did you have anything else you wanted to share before we hopped off? This was awesome, by the way. Thank
Oh,
you so
thank you.
much.
Yeah. This was very awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity. If people want to get a hold of me, they can just go on my website. It's www dot
Send me whatever you want to put in the
yeah,
description, and I'll just
www.
put it in the
Yeah.
description.
Okay, cool. And yeah, and I love doing one-on-one coaching with people too. I have packages for that and just helping them, remember who they are. It's not like being a whole different person. It's just remembering your
Yeah.
authenticity, remembering who you are.
Yeah. With my coaching, I've been saying I don't have any answers or advice.
Yeah.
But I am a good listener, and I will ask the right questions to get you to question those beliefs that are holding you back. And you might not even see them as beliefs. You might see it as the way things are. But like once you're able to reframe that as, oh, that's actually just a personal belief of mine, and it's not actually the way things are. That's
Hmm.
like it's like breaking down a boundary that's limiting, not a boundary that's actually enhancing or benefiting their experience.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you're doing that work. I think that's super cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's heavily Toltec infused for sure.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, enjoy. I guess it's just afternoon over there, so enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you too.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, buddy.
Do you believe in repenting? What if the kingdom of heaven's within you? Do you think you would enter, huh? What do you know, huh? How do you know truth? From the pit of your soul or just cause somebody told you? Do you think about what you think about? Do you see yourself in the people that you hang around? Keep quiet, let me think aloud. Listen up, wanna break it down and question your perceptions. I'ma break it down and question your perceptions. Do you ever question your perceptions? Do you ever question it all? Yeah. What if your money was worthless? Then would you know what your worth is and reconsider living with a purpose? How would you determine what work is? Are you seeking what's easy to purchase, or is it deeper than what's on the surface? Do you question your perceptions? Ever so is real, huh? It ain't your politicians, nor your status. All of that is fiction, so it's real, huh? It ain't your entertainment, nor the industry. I heard it's filled with fake shit. I need truth over everything. Yeah. I need truth above all else. Just I need truth over everything. Yeah, give me the truth, give me the truth, give me the truth, yeah.